players, welcome back! Today we're breaking down the Sea Dogs deck, one that's been gaining popularity ever since the Disney Lorcana challenge in Bologna. This deck can be fast, but don't make the mistake of treating it like just another aggro deck. If you do, you're going to lose. In this video, I will walk you through every stage of playing this deck, from your early game options to the exact cards you need to win, which cards you should mulligan at the start of your game, and of course the deck's strengths and weaknesses. This deck is all about tempo and smart decision making. The challenge, of course, is staying in control when you're running out of cards and dealing with threats like Under the Sea lurking just around the corner. But I will show you exactly how to make this deck work. Let's start with the early game. This is where Sea Dogs really sets the tone. We are running 8 different 1-drops. Daisy Duck, Pluto, Fred, Merryweather, Lady Decisive Duck, Bobby, Lady Elegant Spaniel, and Pegasus. Daisy Duck is a very interesting card in this deck. In most aggro decks, she's just here to quest for lore, but in Sea Dogs, she's more technical. You want to adjust how you play her depending on your matchup. Against Amethyst Steel or Amber Steel, it's usually not ideal to give your opponent extra cards. But with her 4 willpower, she can take hits, and with the help of Tramp or Merryweather, she can remove opposing characters while staying on the board. Against decks like Blurple though, you do want to quest aggressively, pushing lore while removing cards like Sylvia's Right Sea, Second Star to the Right, or Into the Unknown. Pluto is another 1-drop that you will play differently compared to other decks. When you exert him, you can play your next character for 1 less. But in this deck, we don't want to rush that ability. Your opponent will often try to remove him the moment you exert him. Ideally, you save Pluto until you can use him to play the 7-cost Tramp early. That's the card that's going to win you the game. Fred is a sneaky lore engine. He quests for 1 and gives you 2 lore if he's challenged in a challenge. And that makes opponents hesitant to deal with him. Either they remove him and give you lore, or they ignore him and you keep getting lore every turn from him. Merryweather is great against decks that try to remove your characters, or when you need to take out a key character from your opponent. When you play her, you can pay 1 ink to give a chosen character +2 strength. Perfect for helping Daisy remove threats like Calhoun. Lady Decisive Dog is a multi-purpose card that supports different strategies. When you play another character, she gains +1 strength, and if her strength hits 3 or higher, she quests for 3 lore instead of 1. She's great for both challenging and defense, since you can boost her to remove early threats, or quest against slower decks. Later, she also becomes a shift target for your 5-cost Lady cards, which lets you bring back characters from your discard pile. Bobby might look weak with 1 strength and 2 willpower, but his ability is very useful. He helps you discard Lilo, and since you can replay Lilo every turn from your discard, that gives you extra cards while keeping board pressure. Plus, Bobby is another character on the board to help you play your 7-cost Tramp earlier. Lady Elegant Spaniel gets +1 lore when Tramp is in play. Since the whole deck revolves around Tramp, she often quests for 2 lore and also serves as another shift target for your 5-cost Lady. Pegasus is an excellent evasive 1-drop. He can sneak in multiple lore early before your opponent finds a way to remove him, often forcing them to waste cards like Strength of Raging Fire or Firing Cannons. Now, let's talk about Lilo and the 2-cost Tramp. Lilo quests for 2 lore and can return from your discard at the start of your turn, but will enter exerted. She is great when you already have board presence and want to keep up the pressure, but she's not very effective when the board is empty, since she is very easy to remove. So timing is important when you play her. The 2-cost Tramp buffs your characters and is cheaper to play when you have a Lady in play. When he's played, he gives one of your characters +1 strength per each character you have in play. That means that any card can become a heavy hitter. He's also a shift target for your 6-cost tramp later on. So in the opening turns, your goal is simple. Go wide. Play as many 1-drops as possible before dropping tramp. That's when the deck takes off and your small characters become real threats. Here are a few tips to level up your early game. It's often better to play 2 1-drops on turn 2 instead of playing a 2-cost card on turn 2. Try not to quest early. Losing 1-drops can delay playing the 7-cost ramp and wreck your tempo. Of course, it all depends on your matchup and whether you're going first or second, but every 1-drop matters in this deck because you don't draw many cards. Think carefully about what to ink, when to challenge, and when to wait. Now, let's talk about why we're playing all these 1-drops. Simple. They can make it cheaper to play Tramp Street Smart Dog, the heart of this deck. Tramp costs 7, but he gets a discount for every character you already have in play. With Pluto and 2 other characters, you can drop him as early as turn 3. When Tramp enters play, you draw 1 card for each other character you have on the board. Then discard the same number of cards. That helps you dig for the exact cards you need for the rest of the game. This is also the moment where the game plan shifts from setup to control. This is where you start questing when it's safe, making smart trades, and using Tramp's ability to find key follow-up cards. What to keep depends on your matchup. Against challenge-heavy or removal decks, look for Emerald Chromicon. It lets you bounce characters back to their hand when yours are banished, buying you tempo. Another good option here is the 6-cost Tramp, which you can shift on top of your 2-cost Tramp. This card lets you draw a card whenever one of your characters is banished during your opponent's turn. Pair this with Emerald Chromicon and you will always have an answer, keeping your card advantage strong. Against aggro decks, grab Under the Sea. It sends all opposing characters with 2 strength or less to the bottom of their deck. Perfect against Ember Steel decks that rely on going wide. Against slower decks, go for Lady Miss Park Avenue. You can shift her on top of your 1-drop Lady, and when shifted, she lets you return up to 2 characters that cost 2 or less from your discard to your hand. That means if your opponent removes your board with cards like Elsa or Belle, you can bring them right back. Another great option is Lady Family Dog, who lets you play another small character for free when she enters play, helping you build your board with more options. Against cow control, you want to grab Ursula Deceiver. When played, she reveals your opponent's hand and lets you banish a song card like Under the Sea before it can wipe out your board. And finally, don't forget, you can also choose for another Street Smart Trap. This can be very helpful if you couldn't find the right answer, plus with him on the board, you have even more characters in play. You can cycle through your deck again, and he's now even cheaper to play. So those are your main options around Tramp, Street Smart Dog, and pretty much how the deck works. But here's one more card we haven't talked about yet. Go Tamago. She's your surprise element at the end of the game. You can pay 2 ink to gain lore equal to the damage on an opposing character. After a few rounds of your opponent trying to clear your board, she can easily close out the game. Imagine your opponent has a character sitting on 4 damage. You drop Go Tamago, and suddenly you gain 4 lore in 1 turn. They will never see it coming. Alright, let's talk mulligans. A strong opening hand can make all the difference, especially with decks that run on tempo and efficiency. I'll walk through 3 hands and what I would keep. In our first hand, we've got Under the Sea, 1-cost Lady, 3-cost Lady, 6-cost Tramp, Go Tamago, Emerald Chromicon, and our 7-cost Tramp. Great start since we already got our key cards, the 7-cost Tramp. That's exactly what we're looking for. From here, you'll want to keep the 1-cost Lady for early board presence. Depending on your matchup, it can also be smart to hold onto Under the Sea if you expect an aggro Ember Steel opponent. We only run 2 copies, so having one early in your hand can be worth it. Everything else can go back since we want to get more 1-drops to play our 7-cost tramp as soon as possible. Alright, in our next hand, we've got 3-cost Lady, Ursula, Bobby, Pluto, another Bobby, and another Ursula. This one is a bit messy. If you're facing cow control, it might be worth keeping Ursula. She can help you remove Under the Sea before it wipes out your board. Otherwise, this is a mulligan heavy hand. Keep 1 Pluto and mulligan the rest to find your 7-cost tramp. That's your top priority. Everything in this deck builds around getting tramp out as quickly as possible. Okay, last one. Here we've got Fred, Ursula, 2-cost tramp, 5-cost lady, Daisy, 1-cost lady, and Under the Sea. This is a tricky one. Without knowing your matchup, I would keep 2 1-drops and mulligan the rest, again hunting for that 7-cost tramp. But let's break it down a bit. If you're up against Blurple, Daisy's great for early lore pressure and to put non-character cards on the bottom of their deck. Against cow control, you might want to keep Ursula to remove Under the Sea. And if you're expecting Ember Steel, holding Under the Sea can pay off later. Whatever your matchup is, the main rule is mulligan aggressively. Getting tramp early is everything. Without him, this deck loses its engine. So don't be afraid to throw most of your hand away to find him. With the right mulligan decisions, you set yourself up for a smooth early game. But what makes this deck shine? It's fantastic at flooding the board with cheap characters that synergize with each other. It can be too fast for opponents who can't clear a wide board fast enough. It's also very adaptable. You can change your strategy based on your matchup. Under the Sea for aggro, high quest characters for slow matchups, buffs and traits for challenge-heavy decks, it's all in there. It's also a fun and skill-based deck. Even though it looks like an aggro deck, this deck really shines when you make smart, efficient decisions, not just by questing for lore. Even though card draw is limited, effects like Lido, Lady, Mistpark Avenue, and both tramps help you keep your hand fresh. But of course, no deck is perfect and Sea Dogs has its weak spots. This deck struggles against Amethyst Steel with all its removal tools. Even if you don't exert your characters because you're waiting to play the 7-cost ramp, that deck is able to remove your characters by using Fire the Cannon or Strength of Raging Fire. It also runs many uninkables, which can lead to difficult opening hands. And if you miss your early 1-drops, your tempo will fall behind quickly. Plus, this deck punishes bad decision. One poor decision can snowball into a loss. And if you think of playing this deck like an aggro deck, instead of taking your time to take the win, you will definitely lose. So here's the full Sea Dogs deck list. You will notice we run a lot of 1-drops, and overall the curve is pretty low. We do have some higher cost characters that can be shifted, like Lady and Tramp, but the main focus is always the 7-cost Tramp because he's the heart of the deck. Sea Dogs has multiple versions in this meta, and if you want to experiment, there are a few options to consider. Some players remove Emerald Chromicon to fit more characters into their deck. Another popular choice is adding Lewis, who gives a chosen character Reckless, which is especially strong against Ember Steel matchups, to handle Tiana. Speaking of her, some players also add Aurora and Tiana to make it harder for opponents to remove their key characters. In the end, they're all solid options. It just comes down to your personal playstyle. If you want to try this deck yourself, you can find a full list on Dreamborn. Just scan the QR code on the screen or check the link in the description. That's it, the full breakdown of the Sea Dogs deck. I hope you enjoyed this guide. Hit the like button, subscribe for more Lorcana content, and let me know in the comments which deck you would like to see next. Until next time, bye!